Let's see how we did on some of the questions we already answered from the warm-up this week, shall we? So our warm-up says to run a keyword search for cases about hot beverages and protective sleeves. So should we do this? Hot beverage, protective sleeve, junk keywords in the main universal search bar. Is this what we should do? Hopefully you said no. Um, this is the main search bar. It's not what you're going to do. Never start your case law keyword search in the main search bar. Okay. What you need to do is you need to find the document fields, and you need to do it by clicking on the advanced search button, right? That's where you open the advanced search door and you find your fields and segments. So how do we get to the advanced search button? Is it this one right here on the home page with the main search bar? Is this the advanced search button we want? Again, no. You need to narrow the database first and then find an advanced search button so that it has the fields that you need. If you click it right here, right now, it's not going to have the fields that are specific to case law. So here's what you do in question one. You select the source first, cases. So we click on cases. And from here, you can now click on advanced if you'd like, because you are now going to get the full terms and connectors searches, terms and connectors and fields and segments for cases specifically. So from advanced cases, we can give our jurisdiction to California. And then these are my favorite uh, fields for Lexis. I already showed you my favorite for Lexis. This is my favorite for Westlaw. So synopsis and digest. Synopsis is like the summary, digest is the head notes. So here you can enter your keywords in both synopsis and the digest together. Here's a complicated string I put together just to show you an example of one of that. So I put together some synonyms, hot and burn and scald. They're not exactly synonyms, but they're terms that might appear in exchange for one another in a case about this topic, right? So hot or the space here is read as an or. I know that in advance that if I don't put a connector there, Westlaw will turn it into an or. So hot or burn or scald in the same sentence as beverage or drink or coffee or tea. And all of that in the same paragraph as cup or sleeve, right? So I've got all of the things plus all of the synonyms. These are crafted keywords in my selected relevant database, and I've hit the advanced button and I'm using search fields. So this is exactly the way I want you to do keyword searches on your homework if possible. And it brings back just one case. So, have I narrowed down the range of possible cases to something manageable? One case is absolutely manageable. Is all of that too much? That was a lot, right? It's a lot of things to go through. Is it too much? Especially when an original non-advanced junk keyword search will also bring me that same case? Is it too much? Well, I think here, yes, it was a little bit too much, but that's only because we set you up in this warm-up question. We set you up to succeed with very specific terms that we already knew were in this one case. So we sent you to find this giant needle in this tiny haystack, right? And of course you found it. But in real life, you are looking for this needle in this massive haystack you can't even see the entirety of. So in real life, you're going to want advanced search to work as your magnifying glass or magnet or whatever we're going to extend this story to be. All right, so here's what your trail might look like after you had done that search I just showed you. And here is also where you'll find your docket number. I know we haven't talked a lot about dockets. We're going to cover that in a later module. All right. Question two is Lexis. You're going to run a keyword search with document segments. That means the advanced search button from here. So is this where you're going to do it? From the main search bar? Are you going to hit advanced right here? No, we are not going to do that from the search, from the main page. Instead, well, what happens if we narrow the jurisdiction here first before we do the advanced search? Is that going to work? Still probably no. At least the last time I checked, it didn't work. So what you're going to do is get out of the home page, right? You're going to narrow your jurisdiction, narrow your content first, and then you're going to find that advanced search button again. So we're getting away from the home page and we're going to go to pick a database. So before you hit advanced search, we're going to pick cases and then California and then Courts of Appeal, California. And finally, that advanced search bar, which isn't shown here, but it leads you to this page where you will find the fields and segments. Here again is my favorite, summary and headnotes, and we're going to put our keywords into these document segment field searches, field search boxes. Why did I put quotation marks around jujitsu and assumption of the risk? Isn't that dangerous? Aren't I going to miss stuff? Most of the time, yes. So I would argue that here it's harmless to put jujitsu in quotation marks. It's not going to appear in any other iteration of these two words, so that's harmless. But I think it is a bit dangerous here to put quotation marks around assumption of the risk. You would completely miss a case, for example, that said plaintiff assumed the risk, right? That would not show up in this search. And that could be a relevant case. Plaintiff assumed the risk, talks about assumption of the risk. So how do you make sure you catch variations like the one I just mentioned? You would use a Boolean search. So you would use assume, which is going to catch assumption and assumed with this truncation mark. Same sentence as risk. All right. But let's try our quote anyway, just to see what happens. It does get us just one case, one very highly tailored case specific to our fact pattern because we set it up to match. I would have potentially had a few more than one case maybe if I had gone with that Boolean option instead of the quotation mark around assumption of the risk, but we've got a good case. Let's compare it here to the inadvisable use of the main search bar, which would get you 2,800 cases to go through. And it would also get you a check minus on your keyword search section. All right, finally, a look at what your trail could look like and a tip on, which how do I to view if you need to brush up on this. All right, but I think we're ready to tackle learning exercise part 2, where you get to put some of this together. So you get to select a relevant database, you get to try both a natural language and a terms and connectors search. So go ahead and complete that, and I will see you in the next video.